Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up this week, the California Food and Wine Festival is in full swing. Southwest is now flying to Hawaii. We have an opening date for Jessie's Critter Carousel, and we're going to discuss the best days of the week to visit Disneyland. All that coming up next. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, and points around Southern California, this is the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged, episode 759 for the week of March 11th, 2019. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disneyland vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio here in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Warner, joined by my co-host, the lovely and talented Mr. Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
Back in the production nook, our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Hello.
Out in California, the lovely and talented Mr. Tom Bell.
Hey, everyone.
And we have two new people. One is actually in the room. The other one is out in California. First, let me introduce Corey Fiascanaro.
Hey there.
Corey's been doing some freelance work with us lately, been showing up in some of our videos, but you are originally, your Disneyland was your park.
Right, so I was living in California for about 3 years while I was in the Navy, and we would go to Disneyland every time I got a 3-day weekend. So it would be every month to every 2 months, we get the military passes there from the NEX, and we'd head on over.
And so, first and foremost, thank you for your service. Always happy to have somebody who served in the military with us. And we've been getting to know each other. It's been really cool.
You and your wife. It's been a great time.
You and your wife. I haven't met your wife yet. We got to
set that up.
We have to set that up.
Absolutely.
But you and your wife have been living the dream since you came down here.
Oh, that's the whole point. We were in Massachusetts, which was both of our home states after I got out, and we'd been the past year just planning moving down here, just basically following the dream, of living in Disney and doing a Disney kind of life, Well, that's what we're doing.
I'm really happy to have you here. Also joining us for the first time, and hopefully not the last time, is Sam Carter. Now, Sam has had a very, very, very cool career. He was a cast member at Disneyland for 17 years. He started working in parades in 1995, moved on to Disney Creative Entertainment. He was an art director for them, worked on hundreds of special events. He is an artist in residence at the Wonderground Gallery out in downtown Disney in Disneyland. You've worked with Knott's Berry Farm, you've worked with Six Flags, you've worked with the Queen Mary. And that's not code for me, although you are working with another queen again. But I'm thrilled to have you here, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I really am fascinated by your resume. Coolest project you ever worked on?
Oh my gosh. Well, the last one was pretty cool when I art directed, creative director for the Queen Mary Christmas. So that just happened. So that's kind of fresh on deck. But I'd say the most bizarre one was probably the coolest. I art directed Miley Cyrus's Sweet 16 party at Disneyland. And that was bananas.
Oh, my Lord.
Blank check, whatever she wants, huge fireworks show. She did her own Phantasmic kind of thing with the barges. They didn't know. They couldn't understand what that would look like, Miley on the barge. So I had to do concept art of what Miley would look like on a barge doing a pass. I'm like, is this real life?
Yeah.
That was probably the craziest. But yeah, it's nice to actually talk to you guys, but have you guys actually talk back.
Well,
talking to the screen.
Well, we met Sam out at D23 a couple of years ago,
right.
And what stood out in my head, he's got twins, and he had his little boy dressed up as Pinocchio. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. He
was tiny. Just because being a twin, you're smaller. But this Pinocchio but I made sure he had like the donkey tail and the ears and stuff. So I had him just wander up to your guys' booth, and it was just cool. Yeah, that's where we met. Cool.
I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I lost my mind. It was absolutely adorable. But I'm really thrilled to have you with us, Sam. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. All right, a couple things in housekeeping that we need to mention. First of all, just want to mention one of our site sponsors, the Magic Candle Company. I think I'm putting this guy's kids through college right now with the amount of candles I am buying. You burn one, and I got to thank Corey, because Corey was the one who turned me on to them.
Love them. It's a great product.
He turned me on to them, and I am like losing my mind. So what we're going to do every month is we're going to have our candle of the month, whatever I'm into that month. And right now, we're burning it now, is mouse waffles. I am a fan of those like baked scents, those baked goods.
They're the most powerful.
Warm and just incredible. And actually, I had to be out in Colorado last week, and I brought the mouse waffle air freshener. And I stuck, because I was in a hotel, the town I was in the hotel was okay. It was the best I could do in that town. And so I brought one with me, because this worked brilliantly on the cruise line. I brought the mouse waffle air freshener with me and hung it up. And every time I walked back in that room, it was there. So, it's magiccandlecompany.com, and code DisneyInfo will save you 15% off your order. If you want to try a bunch of fragrances without buying all the candles first, buy the air fresheners. They are absolutely identical to the candle fragrance, and it's amazing how they fill a room. And it's just really cool when you come back in the room and there's that scent. It's very warm, and it's very, especially last week, because I was there for a funeral and it was sad. So every time I go back in the room, you kind of be met with this familiar fragrance. And it was very comforting. It's the only way I could put it.
The wax melts are really good too. Like, we're talking about mouse waffles right now. I had the wax melts, and they lasted all year. Just the one little brick of wax melts, and it was very potent throughout the whole year.
Well, I also ordered the room spray.
Oh, I have that at home too.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that works well.
Yep.
So, all right. So, magiccandlecompany.com, code DisneyInfo at checkout saves you 15%. I also need to give a shout out. We're going to start doing this on more of our shows, because we need to. Shout out to the Disneyland Forums on disboards.com. Some absolutely fantastic information and threads that you will find over there. I specifically want to give a shout out to Wonka Kid. I was looking at some of his posts about his in the park. He's doing these in the park updates.
I'm imagining Augustus Gloop being the one who's like, "Oh, I love the park today."
Okay, his in the park updates, really cool. Just like the minutia of this pathway is closed today, and I ran into this character today, and it's a really, really cool way to kind of be in the moment when you can't be there. So, disboards.com, check out the Disneyland Forum. And speaking of being in Disneyland, our team will be out there on the 26th of March through April 1st. So if any of you are in the parks, keep an eye open for us. We'd love to say hello. When I say the team, it's Tom, Rhino, Craig, myself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be out in the parks. Other people will probably be hanging around with us too. But
Maybe we'll see.
those are the ones I'm paying hotel rooms for.
Yeah.
That's what and where are we staying again?
The Anaheim Hotel?
The Anaheim Hotel. We're going to do a review, an off-site review.
I don't think any of us have... Tom might have stayed there.
I stayed there in its previous version, but yeah, it's been a while.
But Craig, you haven't, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so none of us have stayed there, so it'll be interesting.
You guys ever stay at the Hojo?
I haven't. I've been in there.
Pretty
few
awesome.
times.
They just remodeled. They have like a Charles Phoenix type vibe, a lot of shag art, kind of embracing the 60s kind of architecture. Because I think the same architect did the LAX Encounters building that WDI also worked on. So it's got a really cool classic style that they're embracing.
Cool. Yeah, I have to try it. So like every time I say, okay, I'm going to stay at an off-site hotel,
Yeah.
I end up getting a room over at the Grand or the Disneyland Hotel because I really love that experience. This time, there's just not a lot of availability.
Right.
So, because that was the first place I looked, I'll be honest. But it's also a lot less expensive staying off-site. So, I'm looking forward to doing that review.
Oh, yeah,
I
me
think
too.
the Anaheim Hotel is owned by the folks that used to have the Annabella Hotel, which was really, really popular among fans. It was like a boutique hotel. They had like 2 or 3 smaller motels that they had renovated and combined together into one unit.
Oh,
Taken kind of that concept and transferred it over to the Anaheim Hotel since the Annabella's gone away, and I think it's going to be one of those 5 diamond hotels in that spot eventually.
Well, funny that you mentioned that. That's right behind California Screamin' or the Incredicoaster, and you could see those huge cranes right now. And I'm really
Yes,
curious how
right.
tall that tower is going to be. That might affect the skyline of Pixar Pier too. The cranes do right now.
Yeah, they do.
oh well, we'll find out. Find out in a few weeks. All right. That's all I have for housekeeping. Anything else? Anyone? No. Okay. So let's see. What do I want to start out with? I think I'm going to start out with Southwest in Hawaii. It's been all over the news. Southwest Airlines is now opened up travel from mainland U.S. to Honolulu, and the reason that's important is because it's Southwest, and they end up, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And specifically, the biggest barrier for people going to Aulani has been the airfare. And now I was having trouble finding flights from the East Coast to Honolulu on Southwest, but I know they have opened up the routes from LAX
Yeah.
to Honolulu. And Rhino, you did a little research.
Yeah, well, one of the things I like about Southwest is, we fly Delta a lot, which I do. I have my ups and down relationship with them, but I do like, being able to be like a member and you earn the rewards levels. And Southwest has a similar program like that, but they have a really cool thing. So I go to visit my friend in Milwaukee a lot, and there's a hub there, and I learned that like you just go on this website and you can. I don't always know when I'm going to go. So what you can do is just put in, like, I want to take this trip in March. And you put in, you can click their lowest airfare calendar, and it'll literally show you, like, all the flights that are leaving from whatever 2 airports you designate and, like, the prices they are and, like, the prices it will be to come back for the round trip. So it's really neat because you can, if you've got a little bit of wiggle room, like, when you can go, you can end up saving yourself like 75, 150, whatever, a lot of money by using this calendar. And they're, as far as I know, one of the few sites that do that still. But I did it for LAX to Honolulu, and it also makes it a little bit easier too because there were days where it wasn't actually flying from LAX back and forth, and that was for the month of March. But when I put in April, there was a flight for every day in April and every day in May. And so I just kind of went through and I did this for several different flights, but I picked leaving Wednesday, leaving Thursday, May 2nd and returning Wednesday, May 8th. And I found round trip airfare for $294.60, and that includes 2 free checked bags as well as a carry-on. And then I put it in for Delta, and a round trip for Delta was a little bit more than that. It was more in the 400 plus range in there. And I'm just I realized I didn't click the second button to select a flight to come back. Yeah, so it's a little
Yeah,
over.
well, you picked main cabin for the first one. You picked premium economy for the second, so you're jacking the price up.
Well, yeah. So the thing is, on Delta, there's different tiers. Like I could pick a ticket and not be assigned a seat, which is pretty much all that Southwest does. That's my only thing with Southwest that can be a little stressful. Is you're set into like you're either in the A section, the B section, or the C section, and then you get a number within that, like 1 through 50, and that's when you get to the airport, you kind of line yourself up in those corrals.
It's like tourist bingo.
Well,
I mean,
you have to be like ready to check in the 24 hours ahead of time, or if you're in C, basically your bag's not coming with you and you're going to be in a middle seat somewhere in like the back of the plane. Yeah. So you can pay like an extra 15, or I think they raised the price to like $25 to do a pre-check-in where you're checked in automatically and into the further ahead thing. But I like to do a little roulette myself. But that's kind of a little bit of a, you're not getting all the amenities that you would get. And when I put in Delta where I could select a seat, the price does go up a little bit, and they do charge for bags. And then we also did Hawaiian Airlines, and we found a round trip flight for $305.59 for the same time period, but it's $30 per checked bag to go for that. So that's another $60 if you're bringing 2 bags. Or maybe.
Well, I think my question is, because this has happened in other places where Southwest has expanded, that, Southwest comes into that market, and then the pressure is on all the other carriers to start competing. So how long before Delta, Hawaiian, any other airlines that are running, from LA to Honolulu, before they start dumping their prices? I think they're waiting to see right now how well Southwest does with this. Prices that they're offering are too good to pass up. Now, if you're like me and you prefer to fly in business class on those flights, Hawaiian is really your only option, because Delta does it in first, but it's Delta's domestic first cabin, so that's just the larger seats. That's a 6.5 hour flight. Whereas Hawaiian Airlines, their business class cabin is much cheaper than Delta's, and it's the lie flat seats. It's the lie flat pots. Well,
one thing I'm noticing too is that the flight days I selected, there's no direct flight from LAX. It stops in Oakland, so you have to do a connecting flight. So it makes the flight a little bit longer, about an hour and a half longer too. And I believe,
but they are doing some direct flights. Southwest is.
I'm not sure. I'll go through the calendar again really quick just to see, because it didn't even give me an option. It literally, for this specific day, it's all connecting flights. But they are flying into the 3 Hawaiian airports, though, so it's not just to Honolulu if you're thinking about Hawaii, period. But I know Honolulu is the one you'd fly into for Alani, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so...
Honolulu Airport's about half hour, 40 minutes away from Ko'olina, which is where Alani is located.
So that tool you were talking about with Southwest, so it displays all different sorts of dates of what it would cost?
Yeah, so when you go into the main Southwest website, you can type, you can do your depart, arrive, the dates, the passengers, and just search for if you're going that day, or you can literally just click low fare calendar, and what it'll do is it'll just say the month you wanted to depart in and the month you want to return in, and you put in your 2 airports and search that way, and it basically just gives you prices for the entire month in like a calendar. And you can, I'll always look, because like this Wednesday on the 1st to go is $388, but if I leave Thursday, the next day it's $188, or if I want to go on the Monday the 20th, it's $173 for this flight. I see one for $158 in the end of May, so I'll be like, okay, let me start here.
So if your dates are flexible, it does give you.
That's super useful.
And you can plan. I mean, this calendar goes up through October 2019, so you can play with this a little bit and then request those days off from work. If that's how you're going to do it.
What I like about Southwest offering this is, I want to see as many people get out to Alani as possible, because you should. But the biggest barrier to entry with Alani isn't even the cost of the hotel. Right. It's the cost of the flights. And I think this, and that's why I wanted to talk about it on the show, that I think it opens up the potential for people to do what I like to do, which is go spend, and this is what I'm talking about doing this year, going to spend 3 or 4 days in Disneyland and then grabbing a flight from Los Angeles to Honolulu, go spend 3 or 4 days at Aulani. It's a nice vacation. Usually what I do is I'll do a round trip from Orlando to LA on Delta, and then I'll do a round trip from LA to Honolulu on Hawaiian Airlines. Just make sure they all match up. But so I'm excited that they're doing it. You got something, Craig?
Yeah, no, I think we've pointed out a lot of what is really beneficial with Southwest. Another thing that people do love and enjoy about it, I don't know how many people are aware, is that Southwest is one of the few airlines that has no extra fee if you need to change your flight for any reason.
That's true too, yeah.
So I know a lot of people, like my parents, when they're trying to like figure out trips to come down to see me, they'll kind of play with the dates, and if it doesn't work out, they know they can always just change it, and they have their credits for later. On top of that, too, if you find your flight cheaper, they will actually they'll make sure you get the
credit,
cheaper
right?
flight.
Yeah.
So it's there are some of those options too if you're looking to get the best deal possible with them.
I have one question about Southwest because I've never flown Southwest. How are they with carry-ons? Because I know Delta's really good with them.
They're pretty good. So my first experience with them was like 2 years ago, and that's pretty much, like I said, my friend, it's like there's a hub there, so it's really cheap. But they do it kind of, how Delta will do, if you've ever flown Delta, they'll start to say like, okay, we need to check this many carry-ons because the plane is full and we know that we're going to fill up on overhead space before we're done, so that they start doing that. Southwest kind of does the same thing because that's why you want to be checked in right away. So if you're somebody who's trying to get your bag with you on the plane, you have to be like checked in right then. But the thing is, since they have a no fee for the checked bag fee, I feel like a lot more people are just like, well, what does it matter? I might as well just check the bag anyways, unless you keep whatever you want with you in a backpack and put it under your seat, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. Southwest going to Honolulu. Let's talk about something else. They finally given us an opening date for Jessie's Critter Carousel on Pixar Pier. It's going to open this April. Sam, maybe you can shed some light on this. Why the hell did this take so long?
Well, I'm going to try to be as constructive as I can with this criticism. But, yeah, you think a carousel wouldn't take that long and maybe should have maybe opened up with the rest of Pixar Pier. I have to assume, though, it's not that it took a long time. I have to guess that it's a fiscal budget thing, that they spread it out over 2 fiscal years. And they spent all the money on the Incredicoaster and Lamplight Lounge and everything else that did open up on time, and then to make those better. And then I think they're using other budget for the carousel and the Inside Out ride, and that's a total assumption.
Yeah, it just seemed to me like, because you're not like even like doing a new carousel, you're just changing out the characters, right? I mean, that's all this was, because this was the Little Mermaid carousel, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't the Little Mermaid. It was sea creatures.
Sea creatures.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny to see on Twitter people kind of going off about it. They just installed the Jessie figure too, and it looks like it's a copy of what they did at Toy Story Land in Florida. So it's the same kind of like sculpture. It might be a mirrored version of it, but it's just kind of more ammo to the people fired up about Pixar Pier, because some people love it. Well, some people like it, and some people hate it. I think that's a good way to put it.
Where are you on that? Where are you on Pixar Pier?
Oh my God. I love DCA as a whole. I'll start there. And but I knew Paradise Pier had some issues because there was a lot of stucco. It wasn't really flushed out yet. And then when they kind of fixed it to have like the turn of the century, they kind of made like the Boardwalk Resort in Florida, but they made it a land of it with the rides, right? And then they put the Mickey on the Ferris wheel, and then they kind of gave it some real character. That was like the heyday of Paradise Pier, and they kind of started a backstory too, and they were really going with it, where it was like that Tinker Schmidt character was kind of like the owner of this park, and then they basically just did a complete U-turn on that and said it's Pixar now. And what I've seen is like the biggest complaint is the the neighborhoods, how you have like the Victorian seaside old school stuff, but then you have a mid-century modern Incredibles ride. And, I think the Incredicoaster on its own is an improvement, but as a part of this pier that was working really good with the throwback vibe, there's a clash there. And the gigantic Happy Meal box,
Yeah.
you look at that behind World of Color now, and I just shake your head a little bit. But there's some really good parts of Pixar Pier, like Lamplight Lounge is great. Bing Bongs, when we got it, it was pretty good. Just all that new architecture that they added, it looks nice. They kind of continued the boardwalk vibe just with Pixar characters. But then you have like the neighborhoods that kind of clash a little bit. Is that constructive enough?
That's very constructive. That's extremely constructive. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I get it. The whole idea is you put in an IP, it draws more people in. Pixar is a big thing. It doesn't really necessarily have anywhere that it was like overly represented there. I mean, you had the Monsters Inc. attraction, but maybe that will go away at some point. I don't know. I never really thought about it the way you said it, where it was kind of the clashing of the architecture and stuff, and like I see that, but at the same time, like the stuff that I am on the other side of that fence, and I feel bad being this type of person. Like, I do like original concepts and things, but I also don't mind it when like IPs kind of sneak their way in like that.
I was fine with the Critter Carousel until someone else pointed out on Twitter. I can't take credit for it. It's not my original thought, but why wouldn't they have, it already had this like nautical creature theme. Why wouldn't they have just made it a Finding Nemo style carousel?
That is a very
and then
valid
they
point.
could have had even more movie representation there, because
Right.
you already do have, you have Toy Story Mania right there. So why not also then be able to feature, instead of more Toy Story, feature some Finding Nemo characters, and then of course the Incredicoaster, Inside Out coming. It would have really expanded Pixar Pier as a whole, instead of being this is an Incredibles, Toy Story, and Inside Out focused land.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I
was thinking of that scene from Toy Story that had Bullseye on the record player. I thought that'd be a given, that it'd be a bunch of bullseyes as a carousel in front of Toy Story. I thought that would be the way to go. And I think they had some concept art that kind of showed Bullseye there instead of Jessie, and I think that might have been the direction. But that it's the Critter Carousel. But either way, my kids will be on it a billion times. I know that.
I think the answer to Craig's question is Toy Story 4.
Exactly.
And Toy Story sells more merchandise than Nemo.
I was just about
Bingo.
to say the same thing as Tom. All the hype with Toy Story 4 coming out, that's much bigger in the spotlight than Nemo, and a lot more people, no offense to Nemo, but care more about Toy Story than Nemo. So that's probably a big reason why the Critters Carousel's featuring Toy Story characters, and that's just another thing to bring Toy Story fans and Disneyland goers to the park more often.
Well, that's why we got the Incredicoaster. That's why we got Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
Yeah.
And that's why they're awesome, because they get the movie studio marketing budgets to be awesome. If there wasn't a Guardians movie, they probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. But since they did, I think they got a lot of that marketing dollar to make sure it's awesome.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that. The marketing money that comes from the studio in order to do some of that stuff. So,
Electronica, same thing. Electronica was awesome because it was promoting Tron. But the ones before that, they weren't really promoting anything.
Was Sleeping Beauty Castle open how long before the actual movie?
Right.
So-
Synergy.
All right.
Synergy.
Okay, cool. Now, also last week we talked about we were talking about what was coming up with California Food and Wine Festival. Since then, Tom, you have had a chance to do it. Sam, were you able to check out the festival at all?
No, not in person yet, but I will.
All right. So, Tom, tell us what. Give me the highlights. What did you like? What didn't you like?
Okay, so I did not pay for the food. Disney paid for the food, so I can't review the food, but I can talk about a couple of my favorite things. Just talk about some of the changes. One thing we talked about, I speculated about last week, was the fact that they're taking some of the stuff that they tested at Lunar New Year and using it at Food and Wine. So, you know how I think it's the same at your Food and Wine, where you go up to the cashier, you pay for your stuff, you get your receipt, and then you go to a separate window to get your food.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do, if you know what you want from all 14 booths, you can go to one cashier, pay once, you get a stack of receipts, and then when you're ready for that particular item, you skip the cashier and go straight to the window at each of the 14 booths.
Oh, we need to be doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We so need to be doing that at Food. Oh, I was wondering, were you asleep at the switch there, Craig? We need to be doing that at Food and Wine. That absolutely sounds genius. Now, but what were the lines like? So is it any cashier you can go up to and do this, or is there one specific cashier that
No,
you need to?
any marketplace cashier you can do that at.
Wow. So if you go in with, if you know what you want,
Right.
that would change. Like if they were to do that in Orlando, that would change the entire experience of Food and Wine.
And I don't even think just Food and Wine. Like, why don't they do that at every Epcot festival?
True.
I think they'd sell more food too.
Yeah, I mean, because we're just getting ready to start,
I think that
flour and wine.
Yeah,
in a few
I
days.
think the difficulty with that for us though is like you can almost see every one of the booths in DCA. Like you can, it's kind of this all more or less located on this one straight strip down. From the entrance of the park down back toward like the Pixar Pier area. But like I feel like at Epcot, because you can kind of make your way all the way around, and there's stuff all the way in the back, and like. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's a disconnect between places here, but I agree. I think this sounds amazing. It sounds like you can expedite and make what could sometimes be a little stressful for some people a lot less stressful, especially when you know exactly. I've been looking at this on the Disney Parks blog site, or somebody watches one of our vlogs and they're like, I want to go eat that. Like,
Yeah, that my concern would come in with how big our festivals out here are. Is what happens when someone prepays for all this food and then they eat at two places and decide that they didn't want all the rest of the things they paid for. Like what happens at that point? Not like it's just California is a little bit smaller on their scale, so I could see them running into the same problem too, but with not.
Well, if California's up to 14 booths, you said, Tom?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's smaller than Food and Wine. Not much.
14's a lot, yeah.
14's a lot of booths.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
a lot.
lot of locations, and I think we normally have like 24, 25.
I don't know what the highest it's ever been.
I that number sticks out in my head. I could be wrong, but we're not talking about this being 3 booths. 14 booths is a significant amount, and obviously we do a lot more volume out in World, but still, I think the concept, and again, here's Disneyland with this concept of how to do something.
You know what it does too? It brings in people who sometimes, like maybe they experienced it last year or the year before, who were like, "Oh, I like it, but it's a little too. I hate the process of like going in and having to do this." It kind of brings them back into the game too. It says like, "Okay, we heard you. Let's simplify this for you and bring you back in." It's that kind of them listening to feedback maybe, or just understanding that how can we really cut down on the wait time on this. I mean, this borderline could eventually be a mobile order situation too, but
That's what I was going to ask, is like how far off are we from mobile ordering?
Right.
So I know personally, as like a consumer at the Disney parks, there have been times at Epcot festivals where I've walked up to a booth thinking, "Oh, I want to get my favorite," and I was like, "I'll forget that. Maybe next time the line's too long." And I know they would sell, to me personally, far more food if they did this.
So, Tom, what else? What else about it did you?
Let me talk a little bit about the Sip and Savor Pass. I don't think you guys have that out there, do you?
No.
Where you get a lanyard and it has like 8 tabs on it, and you break off the tab and you get an item. It's $54 for most guests, $49 for annual pass holders. So in the past, it's been good just at the marketplaces. So this year, they tried it at Lunar New Year, where they took at Paradise Garden Grill, normally it's full-size items at Paradise Garden Grill. They've taken some of the Paradise Garden Grill special items and lowered them by about 25%, and you can use your Sip and Savor tabs at some of the items at Paradise Garden Grill this year.
Explain in detail what Sip and Savor is.
Okay, so it's a lanyard with a card on it, and the card has 8 tabs, and you can use those tabs for any non-alcohol item at any of the marketplaces, at any of the booths. So you can get a discount a little bit by buying the full lanyard in advance.
But it's just for non-alcoholic beverages.
No,
It's for
food,
food and
Food
beverages
and-
and
okay.
desserts, just not alcohol.
Yeah, so you can have any item that's on the menu just as long as it's not an alcoholic beverage. So it could be a drink, it could be a food item, it can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
And how do you redeem that? Do you just walk up to the booth, or do you have to go to the cashier?
No, you have to go to the cashier. Yeah.
So, any particular items really stand out to you?
So the first thing I had, okay, I'll read the description and then I'll explain it. It's a BLT chicharron duro with ranch crema. You know what a chicharron is?
No.
It's a pork rind.
It's like, pork rinds, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a thin, like 3x6 pork rind that they're treating like a flatbread. So they take the pork rind, put lettuce, bacon, like a tomato and jalapeno mix on top, put this ranch cream on top.
That
It's
sounds
just
amazing.
incredible. It's like this is a California food. It's really California. It's just crazy. I want to go back.
I can't wait to go.
It's pork on top of pork. I mean, you can't beat pork on top of pork.
Yeah, no, really, you can't.
Yeah.
What else?
Let's see. We tried. So that's at the LA style booth. That's that's the only booth that's in Hollywoodland. All the other 13 booths are in like Pacific Wharf and Paradise Gardens. We also tried the tacos there. That booth, to me, I don't know if Sam can back me up on this constructively, has always been lackluster. I've not been impressed with any of the food at that booth.
Which booth are we talking about?
It's LA style.
Okay.
It's the one that's in Hollywoodland. It's been like Korean barbecue, so it's been really like tough beef. This year they changed it a little bit. It's like barbacoa, so it's like shredded beef. The taco's much better. That BLT thing is crazy good. Not a lot of repeats this year. One thing they did is they took the normal guacamole burger and they made it a veggie burger. And I actually tried it.
I was going to ask, is it an Impossible Burger?
Yes, it is.
Oh God, I love Impossible Burgers. They're not, like, so you say veggie burger, you think like, oh, like a veggie patty. It's not really like what it is.
Really, no.
It is vegan, but it
fake
tastes
protein, right?
the texture and the taste and everything. You don't know it's not meat. Like it looks like it. I think it's better than meat. So.
My wife prefers.
Yeah.
My wife's not vegan, but she prefers Impossible Burgers over regular burgers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's real good. You got to try one.
Yeah.
I got to see what you think.
Yeah.
Tom, did you see that cookbook they have there? They have like a Epcot and DCA like food and wine cookbook. The cover art's really cool. The top half is the sun wheel or the pal around, and the bottom half is the Epcot ball. But it has like the highlights from both coasts. It's a really cool book.
Yeah. I think they had that. Didn't they start that last year? Yeah.
Has anyone in this room ever been able to cook any of those recipes?
No way.
I mean, I'm a halfway decent cook, but some of those are so involved. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
It's not even the involvement all the time. Half the time it's the ingredients. Like, we live in Orlando and we have a lot of grocery stores that even specialize in the food that's from around other countries, and I can't even find all of the ingredients sometimes.
Yeah, it
like
does
I don't expect it at Publix, but like at a international supermarket, I should still be able to find everything, and you still can't.
Yeah.
My most famous dish cooking is P.F. Chang's bagged chicken. I go out to eat a lot.
All right, so now, Tom, Food and Wine running through the end of April.
April 23rd, yeah.
April 23rd. When we're out there, obviously, we're gonna.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're gonna cover it.
Yeah.
Would never have enough video of Rhino eating.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I'll eat the weird stuff. That's the thing too. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'll be going to try that Impossible Burger and stuff.
I think we give Rhino 1 hour to eat one item from every one of the 14 booths,
geez.
and then get him on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Well, we'll get that
challenge.
photo at just the right time of all that food.
Incredicoaster 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, that was not pretty.
That worked out well. All right.
I don't want.
Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
One more item. Sometimes the kids get kind of shortchanged on these booths because it's all just really out there food. So at the California Craft Brews booth, they have a pepperoni pizza egg roll.
Ooh.
So it's like two little egg rolls filled with basically pepperoni sauce and cheese. Perfect for the kids.
And let me ask this: if you're not doing the sip and save or anything else, average price for an item, like what are they going for? What's the range?
Let me pull that up. That one I think was like $7 or $7.50. Some of the items are $8. Some of the more expensive items are $8. They're up a little bit from last year. Let's see, like the Impossible Burgers $8. That pepperoni pizza's egg rolls are $7. The BLT that I talked about was $7.
Are you finding the portion sizes on these on the larger side compared to Epcot's Food and Wine Festival?
Average. I mean, they're about the same.
About the same.
Most of not huge, but some of them are better value than others. Like the $8 single burger seems kind of expensive. Even the tacos I think were a little expensive for 2 little tacos for $8, but it's Disney.
All right. Well, thank you, Tom, for that. Before we head out, I want to talk about an interesting thread I found on the Disneyland Forums on Disboards. There's a plug. Started by Doug K. asking, what are the best days to go to Disneyland? And some interesting suggestions on here, and I want to see if my California folks agree with this. Weekdays are better if you can get there in the mornings. It's always busier at night. And the other one, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, in that order. DL Gal posted that. Do you two agree with that, Sam and Tom?
Well, yeah, definitely. If you rope drop, you could get on as many things as you can. That's always good. I'd say maybe around 11 o'clock, you kind of start feeling the crowd waking up and showing up. But the big thing is it's hard to predict with this summer. It's a total game changer. Anything from the past is thrown out the window with Star Wars.
With Galaxy's Edge opening up.
Right.
What do you think? I mean, obviously, Galaxy's Edge opening up is going to have a massive, massive impact on the Disneyland park. Do you think it's going to make California Adventure busier or less busy?
I think it'll be busier. I think there's just a ton more people coming to the resort, and they're probably going to just spread out wherever there's physical room and space to kind of hang out in. But using last summer as an example, I was kind of thinking that Saturdays would be terrible, but I had the most fun on Saturdays just because it wasn't that crowded.
Because some of the
out.
annual passes are blocked out on Saturdays.
Right. I mean, you have 1 million annual pass holders. They're there throughout the whole week. And, not as many have the passes that allow you to go on Saturdays. So that was the total value to go then.
I was surprised to see that a consensus was that Saturdays are less busy, but then also that Mondays.
I was going to say that. Like DL Gal also says in the next post, heed this warning. It is so true and cannot be overstated. Do not go on a Monday. Any Monday all year, no matter what.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the reason behind that?
See, I've never thought of that, but I remember going on Mondays and thinking it was pretty damn crowded.
Extended weekends? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of holidays on Mondays.
Yeah. Well,
I think everyone's assuming it's going to be good. Like they assume Super Bowl Sunday is going to be empty. Nope, that ain't empty either. The resort doesn't have seasons anymore. It's busy year round.
Well, and that's the same thing that's happened out here. There is no slow time anymore. It's just, busy, really busy, and oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
Those are our seasons now. And I think Disney should adopt those. I think Disney should adopt that naming structure. And it's the same out there. But I don't know. I find the Max Pass option in Disneyland so much better than our Fast Pass Plus system out here. Being able, you have to book them that day. You have to be in the park. It just gives you an easier way to get these fast passes. It's a level playing field. There's nothing about 60 days or 30 days or anything else.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? Because I was like going through trying to make fast passes, and I don't do that often here because I hate the app. But it's like I was just kind of like, I'm never going to be able to make a fast pass for like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or
Flight of Passage.
or Flight of Passage, like without having to obsessively watch or check this thing. And I was thinking like if think about that, but then at Disneyland, you have the opportunity. If you're there the second you walk through those gates, if you're there at 8 a.m. and you have that Max Pass, you are going to do Radiator Springs, Guardians of the Galaxy, Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain. You have the chance to do every attraction that offers that. Like, it levels that playing field to that.
It really does, in my opinion, it mitigates the crowds because you are able to get on attractions. Whereas, if you're going to run to get physical fast passes, you're navigating a sea, humanity. So I just think the way the parks are laid out, Max Pass and paying attention, mobile ordering. I love mobile. It's not that I don't like mobile ordering out here. It's the exact same thing. For some reason, it feels more convenient out there. I don't know if that's just because it's not my home park and everything is better in Disneyland, but it just feels more convenient for me out in Disneyland. And then, that I was very surprised by that list: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, never Mondays. So, and of course, this thread is also talking about how popular Halloween has become at Disneyland and the impact that has on the parks. And
that's what summer crowds used to be like. Now it's Halloween and Christmas, and summer's not that crazy anymore. So
it's the same thing that's happened out here. Where our summer season it's now fall into Christmas is nuts. And our summer season is a lot more reasonable than it used to be. Yeah, Corey.
I was in Disneyland, this was years ago, back in 2014, at the end of October for Halloween. And the day that I was there was probably the busiest I've ever seen it. We were able to ride one ride. We waited 3 hours in line for it, and that was the overlaid Haunted Mansion.
Oh, right.
And then for the rest of the day, we just kind of hung out in Disneyland, but it was very crowded. I'd say.
Well, that's when you do the shows. You do the maybe character stuff. You kind of you're not going to go on Space Mountain that day. You're not going to do Indiana Jones. You're going to see Magical Map or try to catch a view at World of Color or Fantasmic or something.
But like I said, I think that if you're there at Rope Drop, if you're using Max Pass, you stand a much better chance, even on days like that,
right,
of really getting to experience things that you might not get to. That was pre-Max Pass.
Oh yeah,
2014.
It was.
I think Max Pass has been a game changer. Personally, I think it's been a game changer. But what other things do you recommend? My locals out there, when touring the parks. What are some of the things you recommend to people, say, coming for their first time?
Man, where do you start? I'm usually giving advice for Florida, but I've only been there. Been there a handful of times. But for Disneyland, you definitely rope drop. I would probably say try to eat in downtown Disney. Ballast Point is awesome. If you want a nice beer while you're eating lunch, that's kind of cool. You got a cool view. Yeah, try to hit as many as you can, and try to see the stuff that's like the retro stuff, the part that makes Disneyland so special, like the Lincoln, attraction, or stuff that they don't have at Walt Disney World for sure. Those kind of things. Anything that like Walt kind of touched. It's really cool if you want to get really nerdy about it. You kind of look at what benches are still there, and like you can find pictures of Walt kind of hanging out there. That's kind of neat.
That's a cool idea.
That's a cool idea.
Right, and like you can really compare all those.
Do you think that early morning or extra magic hours from the hotels, it's a perk for on-site hotel guests?
Definitely.
You think it makes a difference?
Well, I mean, you're definitely paying for it. But yeah, I think so. Magic Morning is kind of another must. If you combine that with the Max Pass and getting there at rope drop, that's the trifecta. Mm-hmm. And then, I was reading the thread. A lot of people said they're going to be there for like 4 or 5 days at the Grand California. And I'm like, don't worry, you'll see everything then. You're set. Hopefully you get to go outside of Disneyland too and see all the other stuff. Like Knott's is amazing. Universal Studios, I think, is a must. But of course, you got to spend a few days at Disneyland, and if you could stay at Disneyland Resort, then you're set, because you kind of like, it feels like your home base, and that's when you feel like a local, where you go and just go to eat or go to see a show, and you're not slammed to see everything.
Now, Sam, you mentioned Universal. Got to ask this question. I'm sure you've been to Universal out here in Orlando.
Yep.
Which one's better?
Oh my God. Well, I just went to Orlando in January, just a month ago.
And didn't call, didn't write.
Compare the two, because the one out here is a real movie studio. The main attraction is the studio tour that, it could be a 45-minute, 50-minute tram tour that goes throughout the sets. Basically, it's my Holy Land. It goes through Hill Valley, but even though it's burned down 3 times and been rebuilt, but it's still Hill Valley. It's sacred ground. But you just don't have that in Florida, which is fine. It's more of a theme park. But Hollywood here is an afterthought of a theme park, where you have the studio, and hey, let's build a ride. Let's build a ride. Let's build some more rides up here. Let's put a show here. And it's a really weird, wacky layout, but they are spending a lot of money to fix it, and it's on its way. It's pretty cool. And they have some kind of 20-year plan that they're working on, that it's really obvious that with Hogwarts, whatever's going on next to Transformers, they did say there's Nintendo coming, so we might get a ride from that there. There's the rumored Pets attraction coming in, but they've really fixed up the main entrance, so it feels more like a theme park. It's more cohesive. It's not just one afterthought after another, and that's how it was forever. But now it's really getting cool.
They keep moving some of the studios that are closer to the theme park area back, and trying to clear out more space so they can expand the theme.
And I know how much Tom loves Universal. He begs me all the time, please let me go there more and cover more at Universal.
I'm kind of spoiled after that one VIP tour. It's just not the same going.
Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed. Was it 2 years ago? Their Halloween Horror Nights was awful. Ours was so much better.
That's unfortunate, because I had gone the 2 years prior to that too, and it was incredible. And then I was like, "This is great." Talked it up. We got there, and it was a dumpster fire.
That was horrible. Yeah. I was like, "Wow." I didn't think it was possible to get something this big, this wrong. Not when you're doing it so well out in Orlando. Yeah, because Rhino was talking it up and being like,
"What was wrong with it?"
It was like
just bad.
You go in. First of all, there's only like one real scare zone that year for some reason, and then you go into the houses, and a lot of the houses, they just have long, empty hallways. They're just long black hallways with people popping out at you in windows. And you come to Orlando, and you're like, well, this is where the studio is. You have the resources to really.
You're in LA. You've got actors. You've got real actors who are working actors that you can tap to do this stuff. And these guys were, A, they were phoning it in. B, I just thought, because some of the houses were the same ones we were doing out here.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 of them were.
Out here, they were just killing it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Out there, it was just, I don't know. It just felt like nobody was into it. It felt dull.
Was it towards the end of the run?
No,
No, it was the beginning of this.
It was. I think we went in October or September.
It was right in the middle.
Yeah.
The middle of it.
Yeah, and like I said, that was my third or fourth time going, and that was I was kind of like shocked that it was like that. But that same year we did the Not Scary Farm, and that was incredible.
Yeah, there's just a lot of shortcuts on design with their Halloween Horror Nights, and it's because they don't have the same budget that Orlando has. If you've never experienced Orlando's, and you might only go to Knott's and Halloween Horror Nights, then I could see how you might still be like, okay, yeah, that's not bad. But even now, Warner Brothers really made a big statement this last year, and so now Universal's going to have to do something. They can't keep getting lazy.
Sam, let me ask you a question. If somebody's visiting Disneyland and they have one day where they're going to go do something else, and they can go to Knott's or they can go to Universal, where do they go?
Oh, man. Well, it depends if you've seen Harry Potter in Orlando. If you have, I would say Knott's very fun. And especially because if you like the things that make Disneyland so classic, a lot of that can be found at Knott's as well. And we go to Knott's pretty often. Maybe every other weekend we go. They have a really cool food pass for like $100, so you get 2 free meals. And like if you go every other weekend, it's a total value. Really good barbecue there too, and they have a really good boysenberry festival too. But Knott's has, the Calico Mine ride that I think it just turned 50 years old, and their log ride, and they do a lot of stuff with Garner Holt. So they're plussing up all these really old rides that kind of, like Calico seems like it inspired Pirates in a way, with just having like a long dark ride with a lot of figures. Just a lot of throwback. It still feels mom and pops. It kind of feels like how Disneyland used to feel. And it's just so much more of a value kind of park. Like, year pass to Disneyland, it's going to cost you about $1,000. Year pass to Knott's is going to be like maybe $100. It's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
But it just feels more chill, more hanging out. And if you like Ghost Town, and if you're driving to Vegas and you see Calico, it's kind of cool to see the town that kind of inspired Ghost Town and where they pulled some of their buildings from. There's just a lot of cool history at Knott's. And it was also my first job. I was a sweeper. It was a nightmare. But
Haven't been there. Haven't done it.
What?
you've not?
Haven't done it yet.
Oh my gosh, I thought you had.
But you know me, I'm the Disneyland guy.
Yeah.
So
If you're in town and the Boysenberry Festival is going on, that'd be an amazing first trip. I think you'd be really impressed. Some people say Boysenberry Festival is better than DCA Food and Wine.
Oh.
when does that go on normally?
I think it's next month, or maybe in March.
Oh, we'll have to find out.
You might be there.
All right.
Knott's is
If
cool.
it is, I'll make you take me.
I'll give you a tour.
March 28th through April 12th.
We're going to be there for it, so we'll have to make a day.
How to do it?
All right, so we'll go out and do that.
Yeah,
We'll go out and-
thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show for this week. I want to thank Corey Fiascanaro for joining us. Special thank you to Sam Carter, his website, samcarterart.com. We'll have links to that in the show notes page, along with his Twitter account. You can follow him. He's got great stuff. There was actually something you had on Twitter. Really quick, I want to.
Yeah.
I meant to ask this. You had something on Twitter that talking about the Dodgers moving out of getting a new stadium.
Oh, right.
And
Right, well-
Disney's going to reclaim that land. You had speculated, I don't know if you were being serious or not, that would be a
that's
perfect spot for a third theme park.
Honestly, it's absolute wishful thinking. I catch a train every day to LA to my job at Anaheim. So I'm driving through the Angels Stadium parking lot to get to my train station. And it's huge, right? And if you look at a map, it's some serious acreage right there. But knowing how much of a pissing contest the Angels are in with the city of Anaheim, just like every other large company in Anaheim, if they were down,
The city owns the land, right?
well, yeah, I'm just thinking if that much real estate opened up, I would can totally picture a third theme park there. And back in the day, before they started building Star Wars Land and Marvel at DCA, I just thought that'd be the most killer place for a Marvel Star Wars park, where you didn't have to really shoehorn it into the existing parks. You
Wow.
just give them their own space. And right next to the train station, and if they built like the bullet train and the train coming in from Vegas, like that
We've
would
got
be
it all
like,
planned out.
Yeah.
You have it all planned out.
I have way too much time in my hands.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Sam. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you again next week with another episode of the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. Have a great week, everybody.